Hi there, Steve Kaufman here. I am going to get back to the subject of language study, and I think the next thing I do on language will have to do with the continuing, in my view, greater importance of vocabulary over grammar. And when I struggle speaking Russian, it's words that fail me, not grammar. In fact, if I get the endings wrong, I don't really care because I can still be understood. But if I can't find the words that I'm looking for, then I'm in real trouble. But today I want to talk about the Copenhagen conference because it's on now, I think. It's in the news all the time, and sort of just ramble a bit. I haven't got all my thoughts worked out yet, but talk a little bit about how I feel about this conference. Why is there a conference in Copenhagen? Well, first of all, let's recognize that for a lot of people who go to these conferences, they like going to conferences. There are all kinds of government departments that that's their lifeblood, that's their work, preparing for these conferences. And they get to travel there, and they don't travel economy. And when they get there, they don't stay in the YMCA or in the local youth hostel. It's a great time. So I think that's number one. A good chance to get together and justify all this taxpayers' money that's going into these things. And there's different agendas there, you know. Certainly, the climate could be. The climate is changing because climate always changes, so that's a fact. Man-made CO2 emissions undoubtedly influence the. I shouldn't say undoubtedly, but I'm convinced that they do influence climate change. What are the consequences of this? We don't really know. Great arguments about who's going to be a winner and who's going to be a loser. The water levels around the Maldive Islands have, risen. No, they haven't. CO2 increase is causing desertification, greater deserts and deforestation. Yet another report shows that forests are growing faster, particularly in the warmer climates. I mean, there's so much conflicting information, I can't make head or tail of it. What I do know is that the people, probably people on both sides, are completely unreasonable. That the people who are pushing the panic button are out falsifying information. They treat anyone who disagrees with them as a heretic. Very much reminiscent of the kind of atmosphere that there was in totalitarian Germany or Stalinist Russia. There's only one party line. Anyone who disagrees with it is evil, to be eliminated, and the ends justify the means. And certainly within the sort of the global warming tribe, there's a lot of the sort of anti-capitalism, anti-West. It's bad. Industrialism is, industrialization is bad. And I don't buy any of that. And of course, inevitably, there's a lot of these sort of anti-capitalist, anti-globalization people demonstrating and making a big nuisance of themselves. I mean, the fact of the matter is, as I've said before here, we live much better today than we ever did before, everywhere, including in the underdeveloped world. The proof is that there's so many people living there. Yeah, we have altered the ecosystem. We have altered it in a way that favors humans. Because it used to be that maybe there were only 1 million people living on the planet, 1 million humans, and now there's 7 billion. So something there must be good for humans, or there wouldn't be 7 billion of them. And there are these extreme environmentalists who say that that's bad for the planet. Well, I don't care. I mean, the planet will survive. The planet will adapt. We have a situation in British Columbia where there's a massive attack of the mountain pine beetle. Well, that's bad for the trees, bad for the forest industry, but it's good for the mountain pine beetle. They're doing really well, and as they have periodically in the past. Although some people are saying it's caused by global warming. Well, then why did the outbreak take place in the north and it's now moving south? Where it's warmer. It started where it was colder. I don't know. Whatever happens to the environment, it'll benefit some species and not other species. My interest is in things that benefit the human species, obviously in the long term, not in the short term. And I think that we could finesse the whole issue if we simply address the fact that we shouldn't be depleting non-renewable resources when there are renewable resources available. Why aren't we burning all the garbage to make power? There's a tremendous amount of biomass out there, but it's not economical to use it. So obviously, the price of energy needs to be raised, and I don't believe the alarmists who say that that will cost millions of jobs and cause our economy to come to a grinding halt. It didn't happen when oil went from $5 a barrel to 50. So let's just double the price of electricity. We'll have to pay more for it, but then it'll bring on a lot of renewable energy resources and maybe make wind power more economical and solar and a number of other things. And stop arguing back and forth about global warming and pretending and hiding information to justify this position or that position. It's just, I mean, I'm in the forest industry, we plant trees. We plant trees not because we think it costs money to plant trees and tend the forest. But, and there's no return on it. I can't justify it. I'm not going to be here. We operate in the northern boreal forest. The trees take 90 years to grow. I won't be here in 90 years. And if I thought of investing money for 90 years, I wouldn't plant trees because I have no idea what they're going to do with trees in 90 years from now. It's just a cost. We take trees out, we put trees back in. So there should be some kind of a tax on non-renewable energy usage. Another agenda here in this Copenhagen conference is the whole idea that somehow the West is bad because they have caused the problem of CO2 emissions. But the fact of the matter is that the population in the third world has grown tremendously this past century, has grown much faster than in the bad West. And it's done so because of the kind of technology and the kind of medical advances that have come out of the industrialized world, which no longer is just the West, because Japan is very much part of the industrialized world, so is Korea, so are parts of China and parts of other countries, parts of the Middle East, parts of Africa, and so forth. And we will find ways to live within the means of the resources that we have available to us. We used to have 80% of the people on the farm, and now it's like 3% in the developed world, and they produce too much in the way of agricultural products. The whole idea that somehow the West now owes it to the developing countries, I don't buy that. It's like this whole thing about the Africans trying to claim compensation for slavery. I mean, get serious. I don't know it in tremendous detail, but I suspect that what happened when the Europeans went to Africa, they went there looking for trade. And so what are they going to trade? They're going to trade what the local market has to offer. And in Indonesia, it was spices. In Africa, it was slaves. Why were slaves available? It's not because the Europeans went charging around the jungle looking for slaves. It's because that was the product that the local merchants were offering them. Because slavery wasn't invented by the bad Western colonialists. Slavery has been around since the beginning of time. And as long as there were wars, people were taking slaves and trading them. And it was a commodity in those days. And those were the values that prevailed at that time. And it was the West that put a stop to slavery. And long after that, slavery continued in the Ottoman Empire and in the Arab world and in many other places. So, I mean, history is history. Things happen. One group beats up on another group. Not very nice. In all continents, in Latin America, what used to be, Mesoamerica, different groups were at war with each other, taking slaves. It was the same in Africa, in Asia. So I think that this whole anti-Western, anti-capitalist agenda that seems to be bound into the whole global warming thing doesn't help the cause. But it's an opportunity. People jump on this. Just like Al Gore is making all kinds of money pretending to be a prophet of greenism. And this whole cap and trade thing is going to spawn a whole group of profiteers who are going to jump on this, just like those bankers devising all kinds of clever schemes to parasite off money that other people generate with genuinely productive enterprises. So my take on all of this is just another example of all these bureaucrats living high off the hog, traveling around the world, that we should finesse the whole thing by saying we shouldn't be depleting non-renewable energy resources. And that's not only good green philosophy, it's good for my business because I'm in the wood business. So use more wood, capture carbon in your buildings with lumber. Let us use biomass to make energy, raise the price of electricity, and that's it for now. Thank you.